Thursday, March 13th. Can we take a roll?
Monday. Wright,
Here.
Majewski,
Here.
Myers,
Here.
Albright,
Present.
Winkler,
Here.
Traxler. We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Meeting was noticed appropriately.
Yes, the meeting is noticed appropriate.
And I will look for a motion to approve the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Finkler, motion. And Bright, second. Look for a motion.
Gonna vote?
And a vote, sorry. And a vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. All against? All right, I'll look for a motion to approve the minutes of February 13th, 2025.
I'll move to approve the minutes from February 13th, 2025.
I can second that.
Finkler's motion, Albright second. Take a vote.
Aye.
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 All against? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is old business. Discuss possible action regarding Zion Lutheran conditional use permit.
This is back on the agenda to deal with the item that we need a recommendation before it goes to the city council. We are still working through the details of the site plan. One of the elements that we need a recommendation on, I got switched, hang on a sec here. We need a recommendation on is an item related to the north entrance off of the Fuller Street connection. And you can see on the screen in your packet, Fuller Street extends to the west about one residential lot width to the west. And in the proposed site plan, the applicant, who is here tonight, by the way, if you want to hear from them, wants to utilize a driveway driveway-like construction to provide that access to the north part of the property. This Fuller Street right-of-way extends way to the west to the Community Trails plat. And typically, when a development comes in, the road is built at some kind of scheduled timing. Right now, Fuller Street just extends as a stub to the west. And the question is, should this access to the street be extended to as a city street to city street standards, or should it be or should it be built to kind of a driveway? We don't have solid information of what's going to happen in the future to the west at Community Trails or properties. We do not have any concrete plans. So the question is, should this street right-of-way here be constructed to, again, city street standards, and funded paid for by the applicant, or should that be a driveway style access?
Is that where the retention pond is a square box?
No, this is the addition, proposed addition. The ponds are to the west.
Okay.
Maybe I can
Who owns the property?
sign. There are residential property to the west. Across the street here, there's a home here, and then this person also owns this lot here, but it's vacant. It's functioning as a backyard to this house.
So there's a potential that that can be developed up there. in the future.
Well, from this lot all the way out to the west.
Well, I would think if it's potential for developable, I don't even know if that's a word, wouldn't we want it to be a regular street?
The question is the timing and Jason can talk to this a little bit when it comes to designing the street. When you're just doing a stub, there's design elements related to grade and other factors to get that street built at length. So it's not, just doing one small piece is not the ideal.
Are they planning on it being one way, if it's just a driveway? It's coming in, then going out,
It's access for the build, for,
You can actually come right up to that seat if you want.
Right here?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, just hit the little person face thing.
Okay, I'm Matt Huber. I represent our building committee at Zion. Oh, sorry.
Yep,
Am I on?
you are on.
Okay.
we're live.
I'm Matt Huber. I represent our building committee at Zion. So at this time, the addition that we're proposing for our church, which is the first phase of our school, is obviously not there. So that street goes, a lot of people will pick up their children. The buses will come over Fuller Street and loop around in front of our existing structure at this time for school pickup and that type of thing. But as you can see, the new structure will cut all of that off. So the only thing that would possibly be used for anymore is we have like a receiving room back there, just like there really would be no traffic at all back there anymore for our purpose, other than like a service drive, I guess you could call, for any deliveries that we might have. But that is all that would be left there, because that'll be completely closed off. The loop that people use for school pickup, for attending church on Sundays, that would all be cut off. So there would be no use for that drive anymore.
So Fuller Street today goes past the second lot developed, right? Or the second lot to the north?
My understanding is it ends right here, right?
No, it's just at, it hooks
The-
into the school
Right, so
property.
Fuller Street right now exists, it really is kind of a combination of a driveway and a street. So where Mike has his cursor, where the curb ends, that's the end of the actual, like, city standard street.
Right.
And then as it extends to the west, through there, that exists, just as it's shown on the plan today. That's pavement, that's asphalt. As the gentleman said, that loops in through the site and connects and comes back out on Western. They're gonna build this building across that loop, so this now becomes a quasi-dead end. The only people taking access off of that right now is them. It's acting as a driveway exclusively for Zion. So, to Mike's point, the real question here became, the ordinance says for subdivision development, and I don't know that this is truly subdivision, but the ordinance requires development to extend public streets along the frontage, which this kind of checks that box, but it's really a redevelopment, and it's existed this way. So when we kind of looked at it, we were kind of torn with, we know that the Hanson property to the northwest at some point will develop, but we don't know what the grade needs to be to receive the new road. So if we have them build this, there is a chance that we build it wrong, and it's gonna have to be redone at such time we have plans for that development. The other thing that kind of plays in here a little bit is we would theoretically, with that other development, want the water main extended through the right of way. The sewer is irrelevant here because this is the high point and we can serve the properties from different directions, so we wouldn't be running a sanitary through here. But for water main, we'd have to go all the way back to the Warner Street intersection to get the water main, which means we'd have to dig up the road that's there today, plus if we put a new road, we'd have to dig it up in the future. So it's a matter of timing. You know, if we have them build it to city standards today, and 2 or 3 years from now, we gotta rip it out and put a water main in and rechange grades to match into a development to the northwest. It doesn't seem to me to make sense to, have the developer pay for a new road that we just tear up. But, if they don't develop that property for many years, which is a possibility, then we kind of have this orphan driveway that only serves them anyways. So it'll be basically the way it is today. It'll be the city street and nobody will use it past the curb and it'll be used for them. And again, the other thing is if they don't put it in, keep in mind that at such time this would go in, there's always the possibility to have the church assessed, or there would be a cost share from the benefiting properties. We could do a special assessment later on if we put the road in too. So, you know, I guess we were just looking for some direction here, a recommendation from the Plan Commission, how they felt with, you know, the existing condition and what it serves. We've talked to the fire department. The fire department's fine with just having it be, you know, similar to what they have now. They just need a turnaround area, and we've talked to the engineer about making sure it's large enough to get a truck in there and turn something around. So this is kind of what was submitted, and when we were reviewing it, we realized that this is probably not a staff decision. You know, we have pros and cons for it, but it's something that we certainly wanted to bring back here and have this group kind of weigh in on it, so.
So you're saying the road stops right after that first house?
Yeah, the curb is.
The curb does. The asphalt extends all the way into the Zion property, and that little hook that you see there, that's in currently.
It's kind of hard to visualize it.
Here, let me,
Because it goes all the way
Yeah.
out to the gymnasium or the other part of the school,
It
right?
loops
It does.
around, yeah, into the
Yeah.
parking lot by the church, yeah.
Okay.
And it is asphalt that we do
Yeah.
use.
Yeah.
It's
So-
basically a driveway for the church and school at this time.
So I have two questions. One, if they have, so by requiring them to make it a city street, would that cause an undue burden on their budget? Is it expensive?
Yes.
Okay.
I can't speak for them,
Yes.
but it is expensive. yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so it is expensive. And then my next question is, so if we leave it like a private driveway, then they're responsible for plowing it, and if they make it to a street, would the city be responsible for clearing that in the winter?
I believe the answer to that is yes to both. If we leave it as a private drive, they're responsible because it's
Yep.
their access. If we make it a public street, then the city would maintain
Yeah,
it to the end.
that's what I would expect. Okay.
Yeah.
Really not much.
And what happens when the other, a lot that's undeveloped to the north? Let's say the guy sells it and gonna build a property, is he required to put in the road?
I don't know where that property line is in relation to the curb. Obviously, there's an improved paved surface that he could drive off of. I mean, you could certainly get accessibility to the lot, and it's a platted right-of-way. It would just be a matter of if we're wishing to put curb in there or not, and I guess that would again be up to the city at such time that scenario came before us.
That turn is in there right now, right?
Yeah.
Is that what I'm,
it's right, yeah.
hard for me.
The part we're talking about is just to the curb, right?
Yep. From there to the west,
Yep.
Yeah. So it's really not that far.
yeah.
Okay.
So it's a couple hundred feet maybe.
Okay.
I just leave it the way it is now.
Yeah, it seems like if you're gonna build a street and then you gotta put the mechanicals under it, but they're not gonna be used right now, it seems like a lot of money spent on something that's not needed for this development.
Especially with the probability of rework, you know?
Right, I agree.
So there's two recommendations here. One is the driveway access. And then the other one is the street standards to include a turnaround for the fire trucks.
Yes.
Is that on the plan somewhere? Or how does that work?
No, we're choosing one or two.
What's that?
Our options are one or two, right?
Yeah, so you can see, it. Well, you can see it better on this screen over here, Mike.
Yep.
See this, the shaded area? This would be, this area here where my, I don't know.
I
if-
can't see
It's
that.
hard to see my cursor, but the, maybe Jason can point to it, but the shaded area is the turner, that would be new. That's not there now, but it would be new when the site is developed.
So right now
To
it's
serve as a turnaround.
20 feet wide, 30 feet long, so physically a vehicle could pull in, back up, and then pull back out. So we would want to make sure it's that large.
Big enough for a,
Yeah.
okay.
And the purpose for the fire engine is because it's it would be considered street access, and that would be a requirement by DOT for fire truck.
No, not required by the DOT. We just, I mean, from the fire department perspective, we have hose lay lengths around buildings that we need to have certain distances they can get their trucks to. And so we'll have to get a truck in there because now the access is cut off. Before, they could have circulated through the site. Now we have to, if we would have a fire or some kind of unforeseen condition, a fire truck would have to get in there to service and to do what they need to do. But then obviously we got to safely get them back out in that kind of same process. So that's why, if we're going to cut off this circulation and make this kind of a driveway to the back of the building, we just want to make sure that we have turning movements available for the fire trucks so they're not running off the pavement or, getting stuck in the mud or whatever it might be, so.
Okay. Anything you'd like to add, or?
Well, just to piggyback on that, we had talked to the fire chief regarding that, wide turnaround, I don't know what you would call that, and I believe he had approved that.
He was okay with it?
Yeah, because we had already met with him.
Okay.
Our civil engineer had met with him, and our group had met with him, so. But thanks, you're right.
So the recommendation would be 1 or 2, right? Any other discussions? All right, I'll look for a motion to recommend to council. Is that what this is, a recommendation?
I'll move to recommend the Fuller Street access be constructed per the applicant's request, driveway standards, number 1.
I can second that.
Beat me to it.
Oh, sorry.
So we have a first by Finkler and a second by Albright
And a third by Steve.
and a third by Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All against? Recommendation carries, I guess. All right, list all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Did we vote?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right.
Wasn't roll call.
Well, we're not spending money though. Yeah, we're good.
That's right. All right, on to list all supporting, what the hell am I talking here? Sorry. Oops, sorry. New business, discussion,
Nope, we're
Nope, this-
zoning, regarding zoning and
Old
subdivision
business.
rewrite proposal.
Normally, the software puts a number by each agenda item, and for some reason it didn't do that this time, so I apologize for that.
Okay.
but-
Next item is
It's not
discussion,
cooperative.
possible action regarding zoning and subdivision rewrite proposal.
As you may recall, we had a review team made up of the mayor, the city administrator, David, myself, and a plan commissioner, Shelley. We received 6 proposals, which is we had interest from 10 firms, 6 ended up sending in proposals, which is a really good turnout. And so we went through those and rated those on things related to value and quality and experience and staff, and those types of things, and went through and scored them and ranked them. And the common top proposal was the proposal from Vanderwall and Associates. Their proposal, the budget, going across 2 years, that we budgeted $150,000, $75,000 in 2025, and $75,000 planned budget for 2026, the same amount. So the total budgeted amount for the project is $150,000 with the optional services that Vanderwall included. Their proposal came in at $129,090. So that was the number 1 ranking proposal from the review team.
From the team that reviewed it, and they were the number 1?
Yes.
And you're looking for approval to proceed with contracting?
Yeah, to recommend selection to council, the Vanderwall proposal.
In our,
What kind of business is this?
This is a consulting firm that does economic development, planning, zoning, tax incremental financing districts, a lot of work related to city planning, development, those types of things.
They already do a lot of stuff.
They're one of the premier firms in the state.
Okay.
What is our packet? Is that all of the responses or just the,
I included all 6 proposals.
Okay.
So you had access to those. This is the cover of the Vanderwall proposal.
It's the red one.
Their timeline, we had discussed at the last meeting that, this is a 12 to 18-month process. They have council adopting the new code in November of 2026. And I think that's probably a more reasonable timeline, given that this does include the subdivision code and any updating of the zoning map that comes along with that, which is part of the process.
Well, I can move to approve Vanderwall and Associates, I can move to recommend to council Vanderwall and Associates for $110,750 with optional services outside the RFP scope of services, $129,090.
I can second that. I do wonder though if anybody has questions in regards to what we talked about or any questions on the specifics.
you second?
I do second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Any other discussions? Was the price correct? Did you say 129 or 110?
With the optional services listed in the proposal, $129,090.
Okay, and your recommendation is?
both, yeah, I just read the whole line.
Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All against?
Don't we need to do a vote where we do it one at a time because we're spending money? Or
No, we're
not?
just recommending to council.
Okay.
We're just recommending, we're not.
All right, can we do that again? Because I didn't say anything.
I thought I only heard 2 people.
Aye.
Okay. Take a vote.
Aye.
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 All against?
You didn't.
I'm still questioning what
Oh,
this business, and they're reputable, I understand that. But having them move into the community, how does that help the community? Other than taxes?
They're not moving into the community, they're providing consulting services to update our zoning code and subdivision code, which, the city adopted a lot of its zoning code in the 70s, a lot of it has not been updated. So things like the sign code, zoning districts, the process on subdivisions, setbacks. One of the things we've run into, and we're gonna hear about it tonight on the next item, is parking requirements for various developments. Our standards are so out of what is reasonable. We have to have a process to ask, developers have a process to ask for a parking reduction because our normal standards are so unreasonable. That's why we need, this code has not been updated except for a minor update in 2009. We need to update this code and so we can have smoother development processes and have better quality code for guidance for property owners. There's a lot of issues with our sign code, parking. There's just so many issues with it. Many past attempts have been made internally to have it updated by staff, and it's too big of a project for an organization our size. So we need help on a project basis to hire this company to come in and do these services.
Okay. Thank you for that. So we're paying somebody to come in and help us navigate
Right,
what's
the-
going on in our city that we haven't been able to do on our own.
Right, they're gonna write a new code for us with your input. They're gonna bring code to you to review guidelines, and then you'll provide feedback, and then there'll be a kind of a back and forth process for about a year and a half.
Okay.
All right. Take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All against? Recommendation carries. All right, now we're on to new business. Number 2, discussion possible action regarding parking reduction request for Cardinal Heights Lamps Landing. Would you like to kick that off, Mike?
Yeah, Josh. Josh is, yeah, or the podium. Okay. Just a little, the multifamily apartment building, has 45 units in there. Some of which are studios, some of which are 24 are 1-bedroom, 18 are 2-bedroom, and 3 are studios. And, if we were to go by the parking code, parking would need to be 135 stalls provided for this development. Our code standard is 3 stalls per unit. So for a studio, our code says 3 stalls. For 1-bedroom unit, 3 stalls for each unit, 2-bedroom, 3 stalls. So we have this process that's been used for many years in Columbus that has a parking reduction. Lamps Landing has requested that instead of 3 stalls per unit, that they provide 1.5 stalls per unit. And so that is a total of 68 stalls. And those are provided 45 stalls underground parking under the building. And then the additional remaining in this parking area in front of the apartment building. So I can click over
Surface parking.
surface parking
All
for
is surface?
partial surface parking, but 45 of the 68 are underground. And if I can go back and find the here we go.
Well, you're looking for that. Josh, is there gonna be visitor parking?
You know, I could put some signs out that said this is a visitor stall. It's hard to police that, unfortunately, in apartment buildings, you know, I mean, this is not a big enough building that there's gonna be 24/7 people there, you know. I'll tell you, we have a building in Sun Prairie that's 80-some units, and there's not much, there's a lot of people who don't even have cars, you know, granted, that's a little different than, you know, Shelley and I chatted about it when we first got here, that, you know, a lot of these people will have cars, but my parents are a perfect example. 75-year-old couple have 1 car, you know, they would rent a 2-bedroom unit and have 1 car. But yes, we'll probably have some young people that share a 1-bedroom and they may have 2 cars, you know. But definitely the amount of cars is going down. I mean, and I'm seeing that all over, especially in Dane County where I live, and most of
Dane County's a tough place to park.
We will have some street parking
Well,
down here as well, you know.
The difference between us and Sun Prairie, Dane County is we don't have any public transportation.
you know,
So if you don't have a car, you're not getting anywhere. You're walking.
well, I think you'll have
You got
some-
no cabs, you got no you don't have any lift. You don't have anybody. Nobody comes out to Columbus. It's too far.
Well, we're trying to fix that for you. We're trying to bring you some.
Well, what I'm saying is, you know, I think the parking should be like 1 car for a single and 2 cars for a double, 2-bedroom. That's
Well,
sufficient.
The problem you run into, you know, the overflow parking in the street works until you have a snow emergency.
Exactly.
And that's the trick that I've observed.
Yeah.
And that's right across the street from the other apartment building that has that same issue? How many units are there, Mike?
45.
There's 45 units?
So it sounds to me like you're gonna put one unit under for each apartment, and then any secondary cars are gonna be in the parking lot.
Correct.
And just out of curiosity, so there's street parking in the front, there's probably street parking around the corner. I agree 100% that 3 stalls per apartment building is excessive.
Yes.
I'm not sure if I agree that, I don't know.
23,
Yeah.
two car of the 45?
So we're gonna have, so there's only gonna be 23 above ground and 45 below, so we're basically cutting this in half, more than half. So just out of curiosity, if you're gonna bulk this up just a little bit more, what would be the max that you would wanna do?
I'm not gonna do any more spots.
Well, that's what I was wondering
Yeah.
too, is there a spot where a few more spaces could be put in?
Unfortunately, when we had to keep the farmhouse there, it really changed the way this lays out.
Right.
And the farmhouse, as you can see, I don't know if you guys have a plot map.
Yep.
But it takes up a big chunk of this property.
Sure it does.
And the mayor and I like old houses, so I think the farmhouse looks great. It's gonna blend in well, nice, but it did make this very challenging to make this project happen. And the other issue is in the amount of units, like a lot of people said, well, why didn't you just do a 24 unit building? Well, when you start putting underground parking in, the cost shoots through the roof.
Oh, sure.
That's where a big cost is, and the numbers didn't make sense to do a 24 unit. So it was kind of told Matt and many of the people involved with this that this is what works,
So-
number-wise.
A different question I would ask is during the rental process, if you're renting the units out and you know that you have a parking shortage, are you able to control the tenants based on you have too many vehicles, you can't live here? Is that monitored?
To me, we don't have a parking shortage. So that, my engineers are pros at this stuff, so it's not a parking shortage, Now, of course, like Mike said, the codes here are very old, I mean, they're older than from when I lived here. I moved here in 1983, and many of you probably don't know that, but I grew up here. So that's why this is special to me, because I want to see something happen here.
Yeah, I do too.
And I went to high school here, graduated from here, and but this is the plan that works for me to do this. So,
Steve mentioned, or someone mentioned, having one spot for 1 bedrooms and 2 spots per 2 bedrooms.
Yeah.
When you do that, it comes out to 63, not 68.
Correct.
So it comes out less.
It simplifies it.
We don't want less parking, no.
Yeah, no.
So, are you gonna charge for parking?
no, that's included with the rent.
Okay, because the apartment building across the street, it used to charge. So that's why there's so many people that park on the street, is because it's a $50 charge. And that's been 5 years ago, so who knows if that's more now.
No, I'm gonna include that with the rent. We don't do that. Downtown Madison, we do that, of course. It's a
Right.
Are we allowed to ask the engineer?
Are you gonna
Any questions?
Are you gonna restrict parking in
you're
your
the
rental
chair.
agreement?
What's that?
Are you gonna restrict parking in your rental agreement? Like,
Yeah, there's pretty strict rules on that kind of
like
stuff. Yes, and
one
you can't-
car for a 1 bedroom and
Yeah.
studio and 2 cars for 2 bedroom? Cause then, I mean, you have technically 5 space buffer if you at least put that in there. We all know people are probably not going to always follow it, and they'll have friends come over or whatever and take up extra spots, but at least if it's in the rental agreement, you technically would have 5 spots more than what you said, Mike, for the calculations, right?
Are you saying the one across the street
Yep.
charges for the
Yep.
in-ground?
Yeah, my daughter lived there before she bought her house.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's
That
not the
makes sense
case
why they
here?
all park.
But if visitors come to see somebody in your new complex, they can park on the street.
They could.
And it
Lot of
won't be a
groups.
snow emergency issue because they're gonna come and go. They're not gonna stay overnight. They're there for dinner, or they're there to party, or whatever.
That street is parking on both sides?
Yeah.
Yeah, and plus it's extra wide.
The cul-de-sac going in is gonna be no parking though, right?
My understanding, there'll be parking on that street.
Oh, well, then the on-street parking, it could be in the cul-de-sac too. It wouldn't necessarily be on the main drag.
I
Except
think
for
it's-
during a snow emergency.
I actually, Jason can talk to this, but I would think we may be not having street parking on Park Avenue.
Oh.
He could talk to that.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I don't know that the street on Park Avenue is signed no parking, but there's gonna be a detention basin that's gonna separate the street from the apartments, plus it's gonna be fairly severely uphill. This is gonna sit up much higher than the road. I don't see the likelihood of people parking on Park Avenue and walking up here. Likely they'll park on the cul-de-sac, O'Brien Court itself. That is designed wide enough to have parking on both sides of the street, and this apartment does take up basically one whole side of the cul-de-sac. With that being said, there's gonna have to be some probably prohibitive parking around the driveway entrance and down at Park Avenue for turning movements and vision sight lines. But again, that cul-de-sac bulb itself can hold several cars too if there's visitors over. And the only thing on that's the driveway for the farmhouse. So really the first lot with a residential house starts on the north side of the cul-de-sac. What we did was originally that when this got submitted, there was 11 parking stalls accounted for in the apartment count on the street. And obviously, as staff indicated that we can't dedicate parking on the street, plus we said the same thing about the snow emergency that you guys said was, you know, we can't have a situation where the residents have those vehicles on the street. So the applicant did work with their engineer to come up with expanding the on-site surface parking exclusive to their complex to account for this 1.5 ratio, or the 68 stalls for the 45 units. And from our perspective, we felt that at least that would cover the tenants, and we want them off the street because of the potential of having that issue. But to your point, visitors and people there that aren't spending the night will have plenty of parking spaces. So we're fairly confident, and yet the street's wide enough, we wouldn't sign this no parking except maybe in front of a fire hydrant or, you know, those particular areas. So it can hold, my guess is the street can probably hold 20 cars without even fronting on the single family side of the street. So again, you know, I'm not too concerned about the visitor scenario. I'm more concerned about the residents and the overnight piece. But running the numbers, you know, from our standpoint, they did a good job of incorporating at least that 1.5 ratio on site. I will tell you at this point, they've got everything on site they can fit. So adding one more stall probably is not even possible because they're driven by setbacks. They're just driven by, they got an impervious ratio they gotta meet, and on this lot 1, they're pretty close to that. So, and the grade challenges are tough because if you look closely at this plan, there's a retaining wall on both sides of their driveway because they got such a grade separation down to the retention pond. So, I mean, we ended up moving the property line for the basin 6 feet and doing some things to make work what you have here today. So as far as engineering goes, I feel like there was a good faith effort. Whether you guys agree with the number of spots is up to you, but you know, this is kind of where we ended up, that we came here tonight.
Like Jason said, it's really complicated with the farmhouse. I mean, it just made, I'm putting in a retaining wall, it's gonna cost me $200,000. Like, it's just not something we wanna do, you know, but it has to be there.
Okay, I have a question, and you kind of touched on this, I just want to clarify. So my concern was if we're going to be doing parking in the cul-de-sac, you indicated that people parking in the cul-de-sac for the apartment will not infringe on any additional parking that the houses should need if they have, you know, graduation or something. Okay. So
Yeah,
then there should be enough space for everybody.
Right, because again, these
Okay.
residential lots are set up to a width where you could probably get a couple cars per lot in front of there, and there's, you know, I don't know, there's maybe 10 lots on the north side. I don't have the number in front of me. I know you have the plat there, but 11 lots, so you could probably get 20-some cars on the north side of the street. You can probably get 20-some cars on the south side. So, I mean, if you park this completely full, you might have a very popular graduation, but you could probably get 40 cars.
Okay.
in the cul-de-sac, from the corner to the end, not to mention you can still park down towards Park Avenue on the street too. So yeah, there's plenty of on-street parking. We were concerned about the apartment overflow spilling over and people parking in front of all the single-family residence homes and
Right.
there being some kind of complaints that come in. And we felt likely there will be some parking, but not enough visitor parking to spill over to the north side of the street.
Okay.
From a apartment access, are there doors? Is that what all the
Yeah,
indentation
Some
is?
of the first floor units will have, like, call like a walkout, patio type door. I don't do sliders, but they're, it's a single door.
Okay. So if I park on O'Brien Court, is there access on that side of the building to get?
There will be some, so I guarantee probably some of those people that live there
Park
on
right
a nice day,
outside.
they probably will not pull underground and
Yeah.
might pull right in front of their unit, just, as an ease thing.
I was just concerned if they had to walk all the way to the other
No,
side
I
of the
don't have a
building to
door.
get into it. Okay.
So I have a question. If there is a snow emergency, where is there additional parking that people could go into a lot? Like by my house, it's the city lot by where Jodio's used to be. So if I lived over by Molly and I had an extra car and I needed to get off the road, where would I go? Can you go to the park or?
Where does the apartment building go across the street?
I don't know. That's,
Probably the same spot.
What do you mean the same spot?
Well, I don't know where it is.
Oh, wherever,
But I'm saying
wherever you
they're
find.
right across the street, so it would probably be the same location.
I mean, I think ultimately, we're just hemming and hawing at this point. It sounds like there's no more room for any other parking stalls, even if we wanted more parking stalls. Like, I feel like between the engineer and Josh, it's been figured out we don't really have a choice. So it doesn't matter where the residents have to park. I mean, it's kind of like,
Well-
no matter what, we can't provide extra parking for them. There's just no room.
so I'm curious.
The
what they
hospital's only about a block and a half away.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay.
And I guarantee you they'll be plowing that really quick. So, and we've only had 2 measurable snowfalls this whole year. So I think we're like, prognosticating like we're going to have these major events. I don't think we're going to
Florida's
have
getting
any
all of our
more.
snow.
I think we're being a little too protective about that. Situations happen. Nature happens. We all have to deal with it. I think if they have 1 car, 2 car spot per apartment, I think that's sufficient. Visitors. I wish we grew a little bit in our economy here. I moved here in 2017 because it's a small town, and we're landlocked. We can't really grow. The farmers won't sell. I mean, our population only grew 500 people in 10 years. Do we really expect to have a big issue with this apartment complex? I don't think so. That's my personal opinion.
I just feel like we don't have a choice. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
Well, yeah, there's,
We need-
everything
we
that
need-
can be done was done.
We need
Yeah,
some more
Short of
people.
We don't really
reducing
have-
the number of units, which
Right.
I don't think we want
Right.
to ask anyone to do.
right.
I think we're fine the way we are. I mean, the 1.5 per unit or whatever, I don't understand that computation, but if I have a studio, you get 1 parking spot. If you get 2 bedroom, you get 2.
This offers more than that, though.
I know.
So I think we're
I think
fine.
you're fine.
It's sufficient.
I think you're fine.
Are we ready to vote?
I'm ready to vote.
No,
I'm
I'd
ready
like
to vote.
I'd like to make one comment before I look for a recommendation. Being that our ordinance for parking is way out of whack, is there a plan to right-size that?
That's what the RFP is.
That will do that.
Yeah, we already voted on that.
I don't want to
Gotta
sit here and go
consult
through
it.
this conversation next year going,
Well,
This thing?
huh?
November 2026 is when we adopt the new thing.
All right. I didn't know that was part of the ordinance, but very good. I will look for a recommendation.
This one we approve, right? Or
No, it does actually
It does
go.
go to council?
Yeah, yep, I thought it, In my head, I was thinking it was Plan Commission. I looked at the code and it says council makes the decisions.
I would make a motion to recommend approval of the parking reduction to require 68 parking stalls.
Second.
We have a first by Ajewski and a second by Finkler. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All
Aye.
against? Recommendation carries.
Well, thank you guys for everything.
You're
I'm
welcome.
looking forward to getting this going. It's,
I'm
it's
looking
been a work
forward
in
to it.
progress.
All that blank land's getting annoying.
Yeah, I know, we can't move any dirt until.
Can we leave this here?
Move to adjourn?
Toss?
We can chit chat after. I move to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All against? We are adjourned.
Sweet.